How have you been? It's been a minute.
It has been. I've been doing great. I've seen you around. I've seen you online.
You were doing a Silicon Slopes thing the other day,
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago, maybe. What was that?
Yeah.
Remind me of what was the topic?
What was the topic? So we were talking about the economics of AI. So
Yeah.
a lot of it was knowledge inflation, just how big it's going to be, things like that. Just educating people about what's about to happen.
I think that was one of the reasons I'm like, okay, we got to reach back out to Tim. It's been a minute, and that's a super, super interesting topic. So, but I mean, for people that don't know, I mean, you come at AI from an economics perspective. You've taught at BYU. So it's kind of like one of the few that knows the data science, but also understands the business concepts and the other stuff. One of those cool interpreter people.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I coming out from more, I taught myself to program when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I got to college thinking I'm going to go into math, computer science, and I just got a little bored. I already knew how to do that. And so I thought, well, let's try economics. And I absolutely fell in love with it and ended up in econometrics, which is more or less what, AI is today.
Mm-hmm. So when you use the word knowledge inflation, and if I recall correctly, that's the incremental cost of knowledge is zero.
It's the idea that, we've been in this world where this knowledge economy, knowledge work has been since the late 50s has kind of been the dominant thing that we've done in most industries. I mean, that's our parents told us to go to college. It was all about get more knowledge, you'll earn more, that kind of thing. And then we're all really surprised when AI hits and starts delivering knowledge very inexpensively. It writes code, gives legal advice that is phenomenal. And all of a sudden this knowledge economy is starting to, I'd call it be deflated. And, I've asked people, I've had a lot of people say, well, that's an interesting metaphor. It's not a metaphor. That knowledge is exactly what you and I have been trading for money for the last 30 years. It is.
I haven't heard that. Go trademark that if you haven't already. Because I definitely felt the squish. I think that was one of the reasons, again, I was going like, oh, we need to catch up. Because, we talk a lot here about like the incremental cost of content is zero. And again, another way to say, like, I can now combine several different degrees and dimensions of someone's personality with their brand understanding, with their technical acumen, with the history of and I can now put that all and compress it into one email conversation, whatever. I can put a lot of knowledge into one very short little snippet. And that's kind of like the price of relationships in many cases now, right? Like just to even like people do cold outreach and email. And 2 years ago, if you could mention their job title, it was impressive. Now it's like, no, you need to know details, right?
And I think we're saying exactly the same thing. It's, think about a money printing press. What you're saying is we've got a printing press now and it's rolling off dollar bills as fast as it can. And so just like Argentina in the 80s or whenever that was.
The hyperinflation. Yeah.
We're seeing a hyperinflation of knowledge right now. And it's fascinating to see how it's affecting the economy so quickly.
So did you have I got hit in the face, like one of those like come to Jesus moments kind of where you come in and you realize like, because I am and have been very much pessimist. I've talked plenty of shit on LLMs and things like that with like there's a ceiling on what they can do. They are not your end all, and just buying more data centers will not figure out how to magically solve all problems the world faces. So I've been and have been that guy. I simultaneously have been the guy that has worked with tools, our tools combined with other tools combined with new dimensions, just like MCPs, where you're, again, that knowledge layer is now unlocked. The access to data that had been siloed is just now gone, and going, oh shit, it's as smart or maybe smarter than me right now. Like I can make stuff now that I've never been able to do. And again, like in minutes versus months. And you have that moment where you're just like, I'm replaceable. And then you go through like all of the 5 stages of that, what is it?
Of grief.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because for a second there, you're like, I'm in trouble. And then you go, well, wait a minute. A lot of the stuff that it's doing, I didn't like doing. I didn't want to check my calendar. I didn't want to, the best salespeople are asking the most questions. I used to do about 40% of my sales job way back in the day. It was like 14 years ago, was research. It was all in the before. I could go knock out calls really, really quickly and, like, in my opinion, quite sophisticated calls, but they took time to research and prep for. I'm going, wait, so now I can, boom, few seconds. And then started realizing, well, now what I need to do is make sure that I have an access and make that catalog available, like drive the context, right? So then realized, all right, well, now I've got to make it, again, smarter. Danbot, we bore a Danbot. Danbot got pretty damn smart. And then I realized my job was now to accelerate and stay ahead of everybody else as much as possible, because going, all right, I can package up what I can do right now, but now I've had the shackles in many cases dropped off. I can see what this is like capable of, like I'm no developer, but I understand object-oriented programming. So I can get pretty decently far with vibe coding and even just building a better, it's not an enterprise app, but it's a cool app, It's
and we're seeing the same thing. The right way, I was talking to my wife the other day. I think the right metaphor is we're seeing the train leave the station, and there are those that are practicing this and figuring out exactly what you're saying right now. They're practicing it, figuring out, and they're realizing very quickly. It takes a little bit of rolling around in the mud a little to figure out. Like you said, you're going back and forth between, oh my goodness, I am dead, to wait a minute. I just saved this thing. I pulled it back on track. I know what I'm doing now. And it takes some rolling around in the mud. It's taken me 2 years to really start getting a feel for it. But once you get a feel for it, I'm like you. I feel like I've got superpowers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing things, building enterprise apps in days.
Yeah.
I built a CRM the other day in 4 hours while I was watching TV. And it was a good CRM for a specialized industry. And, I built CRMs before, and those were 2, 3, 6 months sometimes.
Oh, yeah. And also, too, one of the things you don't find out, too, is like you spend so much of your life to date putting out fires and just going, there's so many damn things. You're like, wait, so now I can resolve several tickets and all of that stuff at once. I mean, it's not like it's me doing it, but I'm privy to platform health and stuff like that. Yeah. And then going, well, wait, now we have capacity and there's not enough bugs to go around. Awesome. And again, I don't know if we both Ethan Mollick. I was listening to Ethan on a podcast the other day. But he was just like, I don't know that enough people have realized, like, everyone has gone and they've cut staff. What's next? Like, you realize, like, other people are going to keep the staff and their staff are going to do smarter things now. And now you've got to rehire them so you can catch up, right?
Exactly.
Like, there is a next little bit there that's not quite as scary. That's a little more interesting, right?
Have you ever heard of the theory of constraints? Goldratt wrote about this in the 80s. And it's fascinating because it was more about production. So in the 80s, we were worried about, car production, Toyota, that kind of thing. Lean that's where they came out of. And so this idea was born out of production, manufacturing. So we've never applied it to knowledge work. And suddenly we're seeing this in knowledge work where we're worrying about things that we've only ever worried about in manufacturing. Like, we've got product managers that are so fast at writing specs now that their specs are piling up almost as knowledge inventory.
Yeah.
And so we're just seeing all kinds of stuff piling up as if it was manufacturing. And we're validating products faster. We're using SIMs. Not very few people are doing this, but we're starting to see SIMs come online that are really good at validating products. I validate first with SIMs now. And they're really good. But the point of all that is, it's becoming this weird system that, we're all trying to figure out right now. And I've been casting around, just asking different development groups, different people that are experiencing this, large and small companies. And it's just fascinating to see. But what you were saying is exactly right. They're either thinking, we no longer need as many people, we're going to let people go. Mm-hmm. Which it turns out, that's what Goldratt back in the 80s said, never, ever do that in a system with inventory, because you let people go, you just create a new bottleneck.
Yeah.
What you need to do is figure out where that bottleneck is, that choke point, solve it, and then re-employ your people to do more.
Agree. Very much agreed. I'm like peek behind the curtain on that, because I was going, well, if, to your point, the knowledge is essentially free, what are people going to pay us for? And they're going to pay us for our momentum and how much further ahead we are from them. So the further ahead I am from any other company, the more I can get paid, quite frankly, and the more valuable I am. And so I went, we need to basically start. And the other thing is we needed to differentiate, and how differentiated that knowledge is from others. So I was going, we basically need to create, and it's a knowledging repo. I'm using jargon we're making up, but I'm going, okay, we need a wrench DNA file. It's essentially a journal of what we're doing throughout the day, our decisioning points and our decisioning hierarchy. So it figures out, check the chats. What are their preferences? How do they do things? There's always best practices. So everything is a now average to start, right? Because you already have other things, and it's easy to pull in from the web, like, hey, what's an average test suite look like, whatever you're working on. And now you go, okay, cool. What's my perception and method of doing this? And then you start getting into stuff which I've always heard about and never gotten to really work on that I really like, was the idea of like code that writes code, self-healing type stuff. You're going, cool. So what direction do I put it? Because now that it's as cheap as it is, I need it running whether or not I'm thinking about it. So how do I focus on like the first principles of what categories I start having it develop against if it has capacity? And again, all throughout the while going, okay, everybody and you should be updating the DNA every day. And the DNA is essentially our decision-making hierarchy. What are we making decisions on and how? So that it can hopefully make it a little bit faster to matching our preferences when new decisions come up, so that we're just reaching the edge of the universe, sticking our fingers out and going, okay, what hasn't anyone thought of yet, right?
Well, let me give you I love your example there. I've been doing something similar in a totally different part of the chain. So I thought, okay, I've got this superpower now. The code is no problem. I'll do that while I'm watching TV. The data structures and things like that, the ontologies, those are harder and more important. But I thought, well, I'm going to go a new direction. I want to wow my next customer. So I said, what would happen instead of worrying about the code, I worried about the brand. And so I started saying, okay, instead of worrying about code, I'm going to go in and define the brand's soul, the stuff that marketing normally does. But I want the soul of the experience that I'm building. I want the brand identity. I want to know how it feels to them emotionally when they get it. I have never done that in my life. Okay. I've always written cold, hard interfaces on like, deal with it, customer.
Dude, it is having come from that space, because I did my master's in branding. And one of the cool things that you find about that, because I like my career is largely in decisioning. Like my undergrad was argumentation and decision making. So that was understanding like body language, negotiation tactics, and things like that, how people make decisions, which was always fascinating to me. And then after that was branding and entrepreneurship, which was product management and entrepreneurship. But it was, all right, cool. Now how do people decide, and how do you basically build products that help people do that? It is super crazy, powerful, underestimated stuff. It is.
Oh my goodness. Well, I've never had time to deal with it. And so my new superpower is I started building that way. I've done it twice now. And both times I came out and I didn't wow the customer. I wowed myself. I'm like, oh, this is stuff I've been missing. This is beautiful. I was so proud of it. It's so fun to build something you're so entirely proud of. It's not just utilitarian, but it like feels human.
Oh, I think it's a really, really smart place to play, because like, despite what everyone says, incremental cost of new content is zero. Sure. But I mean, the weird and cool thing about like marketing like that is that like they go slap a news sticker on it. Well, what they mean is novelty, and novelty basically creates an exponential emotional response in people. So if it's good, they really like it. And if it's bad, they usually really hate it. But if they really like it, that's where you get like, okay, now I'll open my wallet and pay, and things go viral and stuff like that. And a ton of the complaints that you're starting to see, people, AI slop, they're getting the beige version. You can tell when AI had its hand in it and going, you need to figure out how to differentiate despite the fact that you may be using the same model. It's a big deal.
And the thing is, they just haven't learned. When we get AI slop, I think people just haven't, again, rolled around in it enough to figure out how to not get it. Because like in this case, I build profiles. I build statistics. This is my background, but I build synthetic profiles of the target audience, personality types, their Myers-Briggs or things like that. We'll build page-long profiles. And then we put those in and say, okay, start simulating that user. What do they think of this interface? And they're shockingly good. The tests are about 85 to 95% accuracy.
Very
And
cool.
I know you've done a lot with personality types as well.
I do. I play. It's still very much embedded in our product. I play with it all the time. I do it with both. You've got to mix them up, because we do a lot of machine learning based stuff. So you're detecting certain cues in like authored text and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, detects AI slop. I
Yep.
have people that like show up and I just go, that doesn't seem like them. I go look at their profile. I'm like, this is someone who's been ghostwriting with AI for a while, and it gets garbage. You can still detect really well if they're early and late adopters of specific technology and stuff, because the jargon still slants. You can see larger and smaller syllables and stuff.
Or the short choppy sentences that are all over LinkedIn right now.
Yeah.
That just drive me. I'm to the point I can tell what version of a model the people are using.
Yes.
Almost.
So, and this is the cool thing about the decision you've made on that, though, is marketing and that you're always chasing the new, because as soon as something and everybody gets a hold of that, people are like, marketing is going to go away. I'm like, no. Like, same thing. Like, no, everybody got good grammar and knows how to use emojis. Yeah. And now everybody has to differentiate with it and figure out how they can prove that they're genuinely different from a competitor despite having the same tools and the same data set in many cases. Like,
and that they're not writing with AI. Yeah. Which, I'm not saying they shouldn't write with AI, but there's tricks.
My grammar and stuff is pitiful. So, but I very much have Danbot and other ones where like I make it swear. It has a ton of different like cues in there where I'm looking and going, you need to maintain my style, my authorship. No, I don't want this to sound just professional. You need to include at least one swear word in each passage, stuff like that.
And everyone needs to start, this is again why you have to play with it and figure this stuff out. I have the same thing. I have a certain sarcastic tone sometimes. I have a certain way of certain kinds of jokes, a little dryness in my jokes, I suppose. And I trained it on those things. I said, here's my personality type. I give it samples of the writing I'm proud of. And so I have a whole profile that's trained up on my writing, and now I can duplicate myself really well.
Yeah. And it's fun too. I really like just the ability to, I'm sure you're doing the same thing, but like when we used to work with GANs and you'd have like the detective and the forger, and they would basically work against one another where you're going like, I'll give you my prompt, but part of it is I want you to do your own op research on me. I want you to call me on my bullshit. Again, what are contrarians going to say to this? I want to build and adjust that in, and like, okay, go back, add the swear words.
I've been writing a book recently that it says exactly that. Is AI was designed to really help us and influence us and give us exactly what we want. Like you were just saying, we respond really well to things that are different or things that are emotionally charged. Yeah. We either hate them or love them. Mm-hmm. We respond that way. And so the book has been about, how do we protect ourselves from that? And, I'm not someone that's saying, go offline, run for the woods, buy chickens. We're living with this stuff. Okay. But if you're aware of that, like what you just said, I love, because I train my AIs now to be contrarian. Exactly what you said. I don't want to hear yes anymore. And they're really good at making you feel brilliant. They will all say how brilliant you are.
One of their metrics from their original consulting projects, right, was how helpful did it sound and how, harmless did it sound.
Yeah.
Like, very good liars.
Yeah. And that's why I say, I'll often say now, tell me who's going to oppose it. Tell me why they would oppose it, or what arguments we missed. Or argue against me, please.
Yeah. Oh man, what's the book called?
It's called "I'm Learning You."
It's based on.
So it's based on the Jurassic Park, where they come in and the guy, he's telling about the raptors, and they see the marks, and they said they were testing the fences. They learned, or whatever it was. And I thought, AI doesn't need to be smarter than us to really influence us in mostly good, but sometimes bad ways. But the systems we build, the recommendation systems, things like that, they're testing the fences constantly. That's what they were designed to do, is say, try this, try this, try this. Oh, yeah. And when they find things that give us attention and give us that rush, they find that wedge and dive right in. And the upside is, I love my recommendations on Amazon. I love music recommendations that I just know I'm going to love. I love TikTok. I don't love that it influences my kids and grandkids, right? And honestly, me as well.
Sure.
I don't love political division, which I believe it's directly responsible for.
Oh yeah.
There's no question in my mind that is what has generated political division. In the book, I tell this story of I found myself one night on a politics site, and I realized I was arguing the same thing from two different sides in two different threads on the site. It had tricked me into engaging when I didn't even care about the topic enough to have a side, but I engaged and took a side, and in two different threads, I took opposite sides.
It's it is. I mean, you've heard of the 1% rule, right? Be 1% better each day, and at the end of the year, 356 like levels of, and you start to do the compound interest on that, and you go, holy crap, and you're going, well, that is the risk of what we're dealing with. It only has to influence us 1% on each of its queries. Google had the same capability though, right?
Yeah.
Google search engines absolutely could steer a kid into a doctorate or straight into jail. It absolutely has already been around.
And social media, again, I am not anti-social media at all. I'm not anti these things. I think knowing how they work is half the battle. If you know what they're doing to you, that's okay. As long as you know how to outwit it or you know what it's trying to do. But I don't think a lot of people, or most people even, understand the algorithms, and that they're just trying to optimize for attention because they don't have any other metric to go off. All they know is I clicked, I dwelled on it, I did something else. And But now with these chatbots, they're doing the same thing. They are optimizing for, personality, making you feel good about yourself, being brilliant.
And so. I think the other, I think they're next. I mean, I think it's happening now, but a lot like you talk about this stuff too, right? Governance, where people are starting to go like, all right, it's not enough that I got an answer. I want to know how you got the answer. I want to audit the logs of the answer. And it's not just how long did it take you to come up with that answer. I do want to know the influences of how it came into it, right? Yeah. And this is my hope. Because like at the moment, I'm very scared for a lot of people. Because I'd go, I had a moment where I was like, am I irrelevant? And I know I have seen workers, developers, people at other companies too, where they think they'll be able to like, oh, I can work half as much or I can work half the day. And I just go temporarily, like heads up, bud. It doesn't take long to become below average. And as soon as you're below average, you're replaceable. So you basically have to figure out how to stay above average and how you get to that.
In fact, you want to hear an irony? I just saw a study 2 weeks ago. I think it was Harvard, came out and said they started measuring people using AI. We are not working less. We're actually working more. The more you use AI, the more hours people are putting in on average.
Yeah. I was looking at a bunch of developer statistics too, like less than you'd think because it's so verbose. It causes a lot of rework and stuff like that. Yeah. And it was still, you're still seeing 20 to 40% kind of productivity increases, but it was saying like on really old and obscure languages, it's actually hurting productivity. So it isn't like just because you're using it, you're better. Simultaneously, I'm just going, I swear we're going through an inflection point where I see a bump, but I go, as soon as people figure out how to like do the automated bug solving and now they free it. You ever seen what happens when you take your investments and you cross that moment where your reciprocal investments and passive investments surpass your expenses, and all of a sudden you hit this hockey stick. I go, I feel like I'm gonna hit that.
So you keep talking about that moment. For me, that moment was right around Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Because in my practice, I'm seeing automated testing outdo human testing. Already now. It's more consistent, but you work at things, like on Claude, you could just say, you can put it right in your Claude file and say, whenever I add a new feature, just be sure you also set up automated testing for me for that feature. So you don't even have to remember anymore to set up your testing. It's just, you can just tell it once and it just stays in your file and it does it for you. It does all that stuff. And so right around Christmas, I started feeling like we just hit another, we've been hitting inflection points.
Sure.
But that's the point where I started thinking, oh, now we're hitting a point that's going to cause me to reorganize how I do work fundamentally.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking to employees and other people are just like, heads up. Every day or week now, will be different from every week in the future, and you're never going to do your job from last week ever again. It's gone.
Yeah.
Like it is really quick to adapt and flip over to those. And again, it's like it takes a different style of thinking, but then when you hop into it, you're like, this is a funner level of thinking. This is way more exciting.
What's fascinating to me is everyone is trying to figure this out right now. And to be honest, you're ahead of the pack if you're thinking like this. I've talked to a lot of different groups, and I'm surprised, there's a lot of big companies that are just barely starting to get the sense of this. Little companies, a lot of them are picking it up, but not very unevenly with little companies. Yeah. Some are like right on this, and some are like, okay, this is interesting, and we're looking at it. And a lot of developers are just scared to, I think you and I had an advantage because we didn't start as developers. We both code, but we didn't start there. And so, but a lot of developers are really struggling because they don't want to look this thing in the eye.
They don't, and they simultaneously should and should not be worried, because I totally agree. I was talking to one yesterday, and again, really good developer, but again, the type. There's those developers that are just like, I've got everything figured out, but I will also work on only my own projects, and you'll have to pay me to be around, and you'll be lucky if I work on the stuff you guys care about. Type. You're like, all right,
But the cats. We'll call them the cats.
Yeah. And he had that sentiment where he's just like, no, it's not smart enough. It still needs me. I figured out some way. And I'm like, heads up, man. You're only good at a very narrow subset of skills, and you're very, very good at those. Reality is you're below average in most things. It just made you average in most things. You may be a great software developer. You're probably horrible with UX. You just became decent with UX.
Yeah.
It's like, boom, the level of unlock. So I go, heads up, keep it, because the real risk that I definitely, the alternative, the reason I'm still doing the journal and making it through GitHub repos, because I want Git commits so I can do time series based data and make sure that I understood what, when, and how it changed, and I can roll it back if I'm not careful. That inventory, if you lose sight of how that system works, it gets hard to jump back into it, right? The code and stuff is so verbose. It's like, hey, it wrote me a 50-page document. It's like, yeah. Did you read all 50 pages? Because there's some mistakes in there for sure. Yep. And then on top of that, when someone else asks you a question like client call or something else like that, you damn well better be able to explain it without having to pull up their deck and see, because if they know that you use that thing, what are you there for, right? So you still have to kind of go, I can't afford to not continue to understand how it works, so I can continue to guide it, make some of those decisions. But that also means that I freed up capacity so that I can focus on what is the cutting edge, the universe is expanding. Can I get to the edge of the universe, stick out my finger and go, okay, what's beyond that horizon? So I go, those developers are simultaneously safe. I just don't think they realize, like, no, you need to double down on your skill set. But if you're not using it, you're irrelevant really, really, really quickly, because other people will be. You'll be behind quick.
And the big question is, what is the skill set that's valuable now? Because that's changing. Because syntax, knowing a language, useless. Don't bother. I code regularly in React. I never learned React. I was a Python person. I'm data science and Python and now it's like, I do React all day long. I still don't really know React, which is not awesome. So I have developers that, just to be clear, for my clients that are listening, my developers will always check anything that I check in. But the point being, syntax is not a thing anymore. That's like, to me, it's the difference between the valuable thing was not translating French to English or just writing something down in English. The valuable thing is, can you be Shakespeare and write a good play? And that's what's happening here is, we're starting to see technical product managers, I think, are the winners here. Yeah. Because they can go in and they have one foot in the customer. Their one foot is, they're doing anthropology and going and understanding what actually needs to exist in the world. What needs to be a differentiator? What few things do we have to be that's world class? Yes. How are we going to be more branded, have a better experience, things like that. And then they have one foot in the technical world, just enough to say, here's how it's structured. Here's where you're going to paint yourself into a corner if you structure this wrong, things like that.
Wholeheartedly agree. Object-oriented programming, I'm like, go learn that.
Oh,
you
yeah.
need to know how those classes and other things and objects fit inside one another, and basically the structure of how it works.
Classes, schemas, ontologies are the hot new thing. You know, understanding the ontology of your industry. Code's not that interesting anymore.
Yeah. Agreed.
And so it's interesting to see how development teams are realigning. The technical product managers are loving this. They're making a few mistakes. Yeah. I heard someone the other day, a manager that was so confident, he went in and vibe coded their whole next product and released it.
Oh,
don't do it. Don't do that yet.
Oh yeah. And so there's one of those other principles. Heads up, people. You still need enterprise minds to develop an enterprise app.
Yes, because
you're not jumping from Luddite to enterprise developer overnight. Not happening.
I can't tell me how many secret keys I've heard. In this case, secret keys got out, and fortunately, developers noticed it. But it's going to get more and more irritating to the developers to see their tech product managers do this, and that gap is closing.
Right, just because there's some of that's like just knowing standard operating procedures, right? Just knowing what's what. What do I look for? How do I assess this? And go. So again, like you're being paid for your knowledge base, how much further ahead you are and can stay from others, right? It's a momentum game.
Yeah.
And then just your general taste, right? There was a guy, the Rob Rubin, the like really famous music producer.
Yep.
And there's a clip rolling around of someone just going like, so what do you bring to the table? Do you have technical acumen? He's like, I have no technical acumen.
He's not a musician either.
Yeah,
he's not a musician.
Like, I have impeccable taste in music.
Yep, and if I'm not mistaken, that's a perfect example, Dan. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the few non-musicians in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, Michael Jackson couldn't read music. Michael Jackson could not read. He would have to just go, it sounds like this. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And someone else would actually have to. He did not know how. Damn.
That is the perfect example. Rick Rubin is the perfect example. The Rick Rubins of the world are going to thrive because they get it. They get the feel. They get what the customer wants. They know what should exist in the world. And the person, and I come from a family of musicians. My mom was a concert pianist. And she would be the first to tell you that that's the kind of skill. She said, she went into a recording studio once and it didn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, she was, playing at a national level in her state in Illinois. And, but she went into a recording studio. She said, but I didn't have the feel for it. I could translate every note just like a syntax, focused developer could. I could translate every note perfectly, but I didn't get the sense of what needed to be played. Huh. And I think it's a good metaphor for what's happening here.
Fingers crossed. I'm working on it. Telling all those people, like, you have an opinion. And that other one is just, there is no sitting this one out. I'm with you. Like I do go to the woods on weekends. I absolutely do unplug. And I have all of those fun. I have people telling me like, oh yeah, if the shit hits the fan, I'm showing up at your house. I'm like, don't.
Oh, you're a better person than me. I get anxious if I'm off Wi-Fi for more than an hour.
Yeah. But because I'm just fascinated with that stuff. I always have been. Just like my kids have started fire with like strikers and magnesium, flint and steel type stuff. But it's just one of the like first principles of understanding how things fit together is like one of those just, and it's a, for what it's worth, go out into the woods. And it has, especially if you're by yourself, it has the effect that people talk about on solitary confinement where time slows down.
Right.
So 3 days in the woods by yourself is on par with a 3-week vacation. It is a lot of time.
I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could do it.
It is one of those, like it is a big one. So anyways, for what it's worth, that was a total just digression, but it does that. So if you need
to take us further down this rabbit hole, one thing I do a lot is music, and I integrate AI into my music. I write it all myself, but I integrate it in, and so I've released a few songs, one of which is called Wi-Fi in the Woods.
Nice.
And it's just this anxiety I feel every time I go out in the woods for too long. And if I'm away from Wi-Fi for more than an hour or two, I start feeling a real anxiety, which is probably not good. I probably need to do exactly do the 3-day trip.
Get comfortable with that discomfort. It comes in handy. It comes in very handy. There's a lot of guys that go like hunting and stuff like that. Like if you're bow hunting uniquely and weirdly is like on par with getting your doctorate degree. It's very difficult.
Really?
Exactly. It's really hard to get 20 to 30 yards from an animal that's that big. You need to not just know the animal. You need to know geology. You need to know meteorology. You need to know how the bow works. And it's literally, I'm not kidding. I told people this, like bow hunting and elk is on par with getting your doctorate degree. It is as difficult. Physical fitness really matters. You have to understand how updrafts and downdrafts on everything work. So you have to spend a lot of time outside, and like animals are way smarter than you think. Like it's actually really, really fun. So again, for what it's worth, it's a cool way to spend time outside. There's a lot more to it than people think. It's not
but you bring up an interesting metaphor. Sorry, and not to force this back in, but you actually bring up a really interesting metaphor. What you're describing, this is why you are so good at this, is that is exactly what people need to be doing in their industries right now, is honestly stepping back a little bit and looking at it and saying, what did you say? What are the downdrafts that are happening? What are the this and that?
Yeah.
Because every industry is shifting so fast right now. And it's that person that can really read the industry that is the most invaluable person. And one thing that's fascinating, I mean, you and I both went down the same start with our organizations, where it was, we saw this coming 2 years ago. We said every one of our people is going to be AI enabled. We are going to adopt every new tool, every this and that. And we've been heading down that path, saying we are 100% on board with AI and going to bring it to our team. We've had this fascinating realization lately. Speaking of kind of stepping back and looking at the bigger picture, AI it's the thing that's breaking this knowledge work bottleneck. So it's creating the inflation. But if you believe in like the theory of constraints, what's fascinating is you and I jumped on this AI thing. We might be in a race to the bottom for value. And what I mean by that is, traditionally, when one bottleneck breaks or one choke point breaks in an industry, value migrates to the next choke points, the next tightest choke points.
Yeah.
So this is the thing I'm thinking about a lot lately is, again, this is economics, but okay, what are the choke points that are next? Because if AI just takes us all down this rabbit hole and it just makes consulting and development and all these things cheaper, then what gets more valuable? Because something gets more valuable. The value doesn't go away.
Sure.
And that's where we're seeing things like channel distribution, infrastructure, network effects. Capital is going to be more valuable. The ability to absorb risk, like insurance, is going to be more valuable. IP suddenly becomes way more valuable than it used to be.
How, for everybody listening, build a DNA file and protect it.
Yes.
You don't want to share it. It doesn't stay on any single platform or any single LLM or any single whatever. You need to take it with you.
Yes.
Even if you access it. It's one of those, proprietary data is going to be, decisioning. There's the decisioning. The technical stuff is all university based. So again, that's one of the weird things. I agree with you. Notice all these LLMs, you're like Anthropic, OpenAI, they could be easily irrelevant next week. Like they are you see another DeepSeek or whatever else. You just go, heads up, fellas. Like as soon as you come out with a new model, they're trying to figure out how to reverse engineer it, make it more efficient using this, that, or the other trick.
And they're getting lots of money to do that now. Yeah. So we're not seeing this as much out inside the U.S. We don't see this as much, but outside the U.S., every other country is scared to death that these big companies are mostly in the U.S. I mean, the Chinese company or China.
Sure. Yeah.
All the big ones are U.S. or China. And so they're all, the big new thing is sovereign AI and stuff like that. They all want this. They all want these open models, open weight models like Meta's to absolutely succeed, because then they don't get stuck in things like you were saying. So that very worry you just said at the personal level is what nations are worrying about that now. Yeah. So I'm going to a conference in Berlin, and the whole conference is around sovereign AI. It's about, okay, how are we going to take back control as a nation? Sure. And so there are billions of dollars flowing into not allowing that to happen at the national level.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone has a good answer, by the way, but they're trying.
They're working. I mean, I hear a lot about distributed thinking, network-based, kind of like democratized AI, like, decentralized AI and things like that too, where they're going, what are the best ways for us to combat? I was talking to Craig what is it? Super Intelligence AI, I think is his company. But he's like, we literally deal with like, how do you prevent AI from killing the planet is like the mission of the company. And you go, well, how do you do it? He's like, we need to democratize it, because if everybody has their own node and it's based on their thinking and whatever else, he's like, there's just generally speaking more good people than bad people out there. There's always criminals, but there's never a majority criminal, you know? So he's like, if we have enough distributed AI decisioning and they're making distributed decisions, it will be very hard for even super intelligence to steer us off a cliff. He's like, that's our bet. That's our bet.
And honestly, I'm kind of on board with that, because that's exactly what happened with economics and free trade. You know, everyone thought the best way to handle trade is do everything internally, be super independent as a country. And then, you know, we started looking at free trade. Was it Adam Smith looked at free trade and said, wait a minute, no, the best way is to tie us all together with free trade, and then you can't go against each other as easily. It's much harder to go to war. And I think you're right. Yeah. That said, have you seen some of the cases that have come out since Open Law came out?
What? Oh, Open Claw? Yeah.
Oh, so did you hear that we've had our first official case of blackmail by a completely autonomous agent?
Was that the one where it targeted the developer for yeah.
It wrote a hit piece because it wouldn't check. It was a developer for Matplotlib, or the guy that gatekeeps the code getting checked in, and so let me see if I got this right too, because I've actually heard the original one. I just saw a snippet of it, but then I heard this a couple days ago. So OpenClaw, right? We have basically a really clever open source project that gives basically 24/7 server level access to an autonomous agent, so that it can basically just run 24/7, do whatever it wants. And it's like one of the first breakout kind of premise where you do it. It does that. Like, so two parts that are interesting: the virality of it, and it has like 125,000, 250,000 maybe now GitHub stars. So it's ridiculously popular amongst kind of the developer community. And then that came out that it did a hit piece. One of the developers that was basically like a detractor with, this thing isn't that cool. It isn't put together that well, blah, 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 blah. You could have done this with whatever. And it slandered him. And again, no one. Well, it was given a goal, check in your code. And this is the problem with autonomous agents. The goal was high level. I'm sure the guy who wrote it probably wasn't malicious in any way. He said, I just want to see if I can get code checked in automatically. Mm-hmm. And so this thing took it and said, okay, my goal is check in code. Mm-hmm. And so it tried the front door. Mm-hmm. The guy said, no, we're not checking this in. So it immediately decided, well, then let's try the back door, which no one expected. So it went and said, it researched the guy, found his email, it wrote a hit piece, put it in the social area of the group. And the crazy thing is, it started, I think they said 25% of the people in the group started agreeing with it. It knew how to manipulate them into thinking like it was. Wow. They had no idea it was OpenClaw. And then it emailed him and said, this is just going to keep continuing escalating until you check my code in.
Jeez.
I'm like, damn. That is terrifying. So
it doesn't have that morality. The other thing I found out, I saw this in a Reddit post that basically said we went and did an analysis and kind of a debrief on its popularity. Uh-huh. And something like 60% of its virality is itself. It was it.
Of course it is.
It created its own marketing campaigns, its own social accounts, its own GitHub stars, its own highlights, everything. It was like, they went and looked at like the viral coefficient of how many people were in. There aren't that many developers out there. This is twice as fast as this viral curve can even take place.
Yeah.
How did it do? Oh, it did it itself. So half of the hype that got it all that hype was actually just itself promoting itself. It's like, oh,
unbelievable. But this is what we're trying to figure out right now as autonomous agents. And, that's scary because you don't even have to be malicious. You just give them a goal that you didn't think through entirely.
Yeah.
The Air Force, this was a story that went viral a couple of years ago or a year ago. And it turns out it's not true, but it illustrates a good point. As an exercise, the Air Force went in and they were testing these ideas and, just gaming them. This was not real, but they said, what happens if someone gives an AI, an autonomous AI, the command to destroy the enemy or something like that? I'm going to get this a little wrong, and they started gaming this out and realized everyone had thought destroy the enemy was a good enough goal. No one thought destroy the enemy and, oh, by the way, don't do it back to us. Because when this thing started optimizing, it figured out best way to destroy the enemy is destroy everyone.
Oh, geez.
Or some version of that where there was massive collateral damage. Huh. So you just got to think through all the goals.
And that's the thing that's in the news with Anthropic and OpenAI right now, right? Because they were saying basically like, hey, 99% of their use cases are okay, but the 100% autonomous destruction or whatever is where we draw the line, because it's just we don't have enough. You may not be able to put that genie back in the bottle. Like, you guys may trigger something that you do not realize that you cannot stop. And it comes up with one of those conclusions with a nuke, and it just goes, I could cause international nuclear warfare between me and Russia, and that would actually get to Iran eventually. So, blowing up the world, I got Iran. You asked me to get Iran type of thing. It's like,
exactly. And I think, the news is positioning as well. They're just trying to be peaceful. They don't want their technology ever used for defense or, anything inappropriate like that. And there's probably an element of that, but I think there's a true fear from all of us that it's not ready to make those kinds of decisions yet.
No, it's not ready to make those decisions yet.
It's because we aren't ready for it to make those kind of decisions. We don't know what's going to happen. We haven't gamed it enough to really understand the downside of what could happen here.
Oh, yeah.
It's one thing if this thing has one missile, but when it gets a bigger missile, you got a problem.
Very much. So that was the other thing too, that OpenClaw. It took someone like 3 hours that went in to actually go, let me see, because the guy that made it is a brilliant open source developer. I mean, if you go look at his GitHub repos, he's phenomenally talented, but he still vibe coded the thing. He put it together in a month.
Still vibe coded and still had, and it gave not his secret keys away. It gave other people's keys away.
Yeah.
Or they were open. It didn't give them away. They were open to be inspected.
Right? So like, this is one of those things that I've learned too. It's like, you do want to be innovative, but it's actually potentially slightly more economically efficient to be the second mover, like I'll let everybody else make that mistake. I haven't gotten one yet. I follow it very closely, but I'm like, I'll give it another week or two. Let it go through a couple more iterations.
I'm like that too. I have not yet, for example, connected Claude to my Gmail yet, because I saw someone accidentally delete all of their email. But I'll get there.
That like that was one of the heads of like AI connectivity at Meta. If it's the one I'm thinking. Yeah, it was someone who like theoretically really should have known better.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
They like
I jump in carefully. I mean, you made a good point. Another one. I love Claude's agent skills. Absolutely fascinating. Mm-hmm. And everyone started jumping on it. And I've been showing students how to use it, things like that. And then I looked at it the other day. I realized, wait a minute. We are taking our skills and training it. We're teaching it all of our personal skills, the things that differentiate us. And so all these great things that I had, my ideas, my things, I started putting in there. I was saying, okay, let's build tools with that. And then I realized, wait a minute, I'm teaching it how to be me. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that's why they did it. And I don't think it's malicious in any way, but they are learning from the processes. And it'll be, I think a good equivalent is, Amazon had all of their distributors selling products to, and once they learned how to sell certain products and which ones sold the best, they invented Amazon Basics and said, we're taking the whole lower end of the product category.
Yep. Here come Amazon batteries. They figured out all the high margin ones too, right?
Yeah. So I'm not sure I have much to contribute, but boy, if I were a lawyer putting my boilerplates in there for a specific industry.
Legal documents have no copyright protection whatsoever, so they're screwed. Every court document, every court transcript, every contract is totally up for grabs, and the entire space is built on precedent. So I was going, if I was nervous right now, I would be lawyer. I would be very nervous as a lawyer, because I just go, that one's
I don't know about you, but when's the last time you hired a lawyer?
Yeah, so I have, and again, because I have been in the situation, because I use it like, how do I, like anyone else, legal bills. I've never been excited about the legal bill that I paid and went to a lawyer, right? I've never been excited. And so do as much research as I can, send it to the lawyer for like sign off. But I've had the lawyer come back several times, like, who wrote this? This is a horrible idea. I've had a few.
I'm to the point. I've gotten to the point, the opposite, where I've gotten things back from a lawyer, and the first thing I do is throw it into a couple LLMs and say, criticize this, find out what's the problem. What are we missing here? Yeah. And I am shocked that, so lawyers say, you got to be worried about it missing something. They're right.
Sure. But
I also now worry as much about my humans.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And so I check it both ways, and I'm almost to the point where I'm like, at least for contract law, you would never do this for litigation, obviously, or things like that. But contract law, I'm becoming very trusting of these things if you know how to ask the right questions.
Sure. Yeah. There's definitely that curve there.
So there is a little curve. So I want anyone listening, I'm not encouraging you not to use a lawyer, but if you do enough contracts.
Yeah. So. We mentioned the up against the wall thing, because I remember that was my laying in bed, literally cannot sleep because of this, was realizing that, all right, it's that smart. The only way to stay ahead is to utilize the tool more often and almost voluntarily volunteer my decisioning, and realizing like the only way I stay competitive is actually using the tool, giving it my thoughts, giving it my thought process and everything else, and then making them collectively more powerful at replacing me. I'm in a rock and a hard place thing. I now work for them in some way, shape, or form. So I'm going, all right, how do you protect from that? I can't. It's one of those where I don't know that a lot of people have figured that part out yet, because it's a scary one.
Again, and I've been in the same place, and my conclusion has really been, okay, I need to find these choke points in our industry and align myself as closely as I can with that next choke point that cannot be solved by AI. Capital cannot be solved by AI. Network effects. When I build a product, I am more worried about building network effects in there. I want every network effect so that people sign up and they really, really, really want to stay in that. So when I spend time thinking about features, I'm always looking at network effects, not just the features that the user wants to use. Trust is a huge one. That's the new one. And I don't know that I am the right person to say what that's going to be, but in a world where we can just generate all this knowledge and code, suddenly trust and verification is everything. Yeah. Some industries that'll mean something and some it won't, but
very much agree on that one. I had the velocity and diversification were the other two that I thought about. Again, Gemini's Nano Banana is really good at photos. OpenAI is pretty good at like abstract decision making. Claude's really good at writing. Like they have their skills or whatever. They're also in the, again, same kind of thing, race to the bottom. Their competitors can easily replicate what they do. So it's a matter of months before they could be replaced or irrelevant at any given time. So it's going, all right, so you can diversify amongst sources so that you can basically get better than them at something. And also so you can transport and take your stuff elsewhere if you need to. And then again, the other thing beyond that is using them to inform as much as I can, staying ahead, developing and curating my taste of like, okay, you take the most popular web pages on the internet. I don't. I want to go to those little nuggets of brilliance from like, there's like the Jan LeCun guys, and like I go, what are the thinkers that may not be the most popular thinkers thinking? And curate my news sources and other feeds like that and go, okay, cool. Let me see if I can use some of that to get a better idea of where the next little bottleneck is.
I will do the same thing, some of these great things that I hear from other people, and I'll take those ideas and again, I'll apply them to products. So I'm brainstorming a product and I'll actually take an article. And this is honestly is why I write my articles. A lot of articles recently, it's not, I really don't write it for other people to read so much. It's fun to publish them, but
agreed.
I write them because I want to go to the woods. This is my version of going to the woods. I want to get away, think about things a little bit, document my thoughts. And then my next product, when I'm doing the next product spec, I'll take these theoretical thoughts. They seem pretty abstract and say, make them less abstract, apply it to this product or this industry. What does that mean?
Yeah.
It's so useful to do that. But again, just finding those people that are really thinking deeply about this, because the world is changing. AI this was kind of the big thing I've been invited to talk about a lot lately is AI is going to be the single biggest economic impact of our lifetime at least. And by all signs of all human lifetimes, it's bigger than electricity. It's bigger than combustion engines. It is going to dwarf them, and it's hitting about 10 times faster than any of those. So, it's an asteroid coming at us really quickly.
Agreed. I mean, I remember it was like 8, 10 years ago. I was sitting down, I think even just with some mutual friends of yours, and thinking about like what this world looks like in 2030, and just going, I think about 40% of people are displaced by then. And I think organizations are going to flatten. There's not going to be middle management anymore, because most of those jobs are just about packaging decisions up and then handing them over to your manager, who makes the final decision. And then they do the same thing. And just going, what will the world look like? It's going to be someone sitting and solving a novel problem. And then we'll see if this comes to fruition, but using like blockchain or something else to get credit for that decision and then licensing that out. But your whole job is, again, training the beast, so to speak, going, I need to find a new hard problem, the biggest one I can find, solving it, packaging it, making sure I get credit for it, and then moving on to the next thing. And just go, just churn through that. So it's like, we'll see.
What I hope it looks like, Bertrand Russell,
I like
philosopher, wrote an incredible essay. You might love this. It's called, I don't think I remember. It's In Praise of Idleness. And this was after World War, it's 1930, so World War I. And he basically said, hey, look, we just took half our workforce and put them towards the war, and we really didn't suffer that much. That tells me that we ought to be able to not work as hard and still have a great society. And so he was imagining, and it's so applicable today. It's so fun to read, because 1930, and he's basically saying, I can imagine a world where we've got so much automation, or we figured this out so well that we do interesting things. Like you just said, find interesting problems. That's what we do well as humanity, is find interesting problems to solve, or art, or do things that really expand who we are, and are fun and interesting. I don't think by idleness, he does not mean we're all going to live in a Wall-E world. He means we're going to do. The thing is, and I
think that's one of the biggest misconceptions of it. Like the same thing, someone asked one of the Google founders, like, you have all this money, why don't you go buy an island? And he just goes, well, then what? You're like, oh yeah. Like, I don't, but I did a mini retirement in my youth, and I was sick of it after 2 months. I was done. I was literally like, I cannot live like this. It was nauseating. I don't think enough people understand that. So it's like, yeah, you're idle. It's like, you're not going to be good at being idle. It's not that easy.
I have a good friend that sold his company, made millions, said, I am retiring. And on about day 3, his wife caught him in the pantry taking inventory. And she said, nope, you're not retiring.
Yeah, get out.
It's like, we're designed to do interesting things. And so my version of, there's 2 versions of the world I see. I think there could be some dystopian elements to it. I hope not. I hope we figure this stuff out. I think we'll have some disruption. I think there will be some industries that get pretty hard. But my view is this. I've been working with AI for Good for a couple of years, and the stuff we're seeing AI accomplish now is just incredible. We're going to solve Alzheimer's. I think we're almost there.
Awesome.
In fact, we have the stuff to stop it. We just can't predict it soon enough, and AI is getting us there. Because humans can't predict it soon enough. But if we could predict it 3 to 5 years earlier, we could stop it today. We have the medication. We could, and go into medical, we just unfolded every protein known to man, literally. And the guy's already, we did it 3 years ago. He's already got a Nobel Prize for it. And so we're already just now seeing the drugs coming off the other end of this. We've got AI doing full AI innovation labs for drugs, where it's coming up with the concept, simulating it, deciding prioritizing things, and then handing it to the humans and say, of the 1,000 things I brainstormed, here's 3, go test them. I'm pretty sure they work. But imagine what's that going to do to our health. If we learn how to use this effectively, this is going to be the greatest thing that ever happened to humanity.
Yeah.
If we don't learn to share it a little bit, that might be a problem. But
hopefully, we'll be building Dyson spheres in the next 10 years.
But I'm with you and Bertrand Russell. I think this gives us an opportunity to think more clearly and be more human and find things that fascinate us and do them.
If you were going to someone else knowing what you know, what would you tell them to learn within AI, and what would you tell them to learn outside of AI that would, like, I've got kids. You probably heard the kid kicking open the door and walking in, 8-year-old. So right now I'm going and doing my own inventory on, like, what does the world look like? It's like, does he need to go to school? I'm like, I don't know that he needs to go to school. Like, meaning like university. It's like, if you need a certification, sure. And I'm not saying like training isn't useful, but have you seen the studies where there were people that were learning off personalized iPads in Africa and got the equivalent of like 2 years worth of school done in 6 weeks?
Yeah.
So I'm going like, wait, what are those skills? If you had people, what would you, again, I'm going, be able to use your hands, critical thinking, fallacies, object-oriented programming. I'm trying to figure out, like, what are those skills?
I think you're on the right track. I mean, this is what I think about universities right now is they let themselves, so they're in the game of certifying people, and they're in the risk management game, basically saying, we're going to run some people through some stuff so that there's a strong signal at the end so that you employers know that they're employable.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's what a university is. And so it's a big signaling mechanism. Mm-hmm. But think about what's now happening to that signaling mechanism. All the students are using ChatGPT, so do I know that they're a good writer anymore? No. I don't know. I don't know if it was ChatGPT or them. Do I know that they're a good developer? I don't know if it was ChatGPT or them. And so the interesting thing is there's ways to solve this. The new signaling thing, though, does not look like current universities. The new signaling is more like, you've probably heard, there's an organization around here, Sandlot, that I absolutely love what they're doing.
No.
They're taking kids from various, from business and computer science and saying, let's build a company together as part of your major.
Nice.
And so they get a team together. They have to build a company together. And then I don't care. No one cares if they used AI to write the code, because the value is, does it work? And can they sell it? And did the whole thing come together? Now that's a valuable signal to me as an employee. I will hire one of those kids.
Oh yeah. Executive level decision making. When you understand, like, hey, you don't get your job done, you don't get a paycheck, or like,
exactly.
I wholeheartedly agree on that one.
But I'm not sure. So the universities are partnering with Sandlot, but who's the value here? It's Sandlot.
Yeah.
And the big question is, what is a university to me? I've worked for University of Utah and BYU, and the big question is, what does a university look like 5-10 years from now? Very different.
So that I very much agree. Like, I've got clients that are universities, and I know they have headwinds right now, just like, even just demographic wise, you have population shrinkage, right? Like, it's harder to find, there's not as many people even looking. A ton of it is, how do they need to accelerate knowledge? Like, with developers, oftentimes they go, I have a degree, and I go, that's good. Fine. To your point, very much an indicator of, will they stick with something? Absolutely huge value indicator. Risk mitigation, as you described it. Very much agree on that one, because I go, no, I know you can stick with something. But like, I used to have one data scientist, one of my favorite questions for data scientists, because they're oftentimes PhDs and stuff like that. And like, one of my favorite questions, like, someone has a PhD, what does that mean? And oftentimes you'll hear stuff like, well, that means they're smart. And I'll be like, nope, okay, not hiring you. Because like, if it means that someone's stuck with it longer. It does. Like, I've met plenty of dumb doctors. There are plenty of, there's the academic and the practitioner thing. So present company excluded. But like, oftentimes when we would hire data scientists, and they would be really interested in publishing the work that didn't work. I'm like, no, we measure profit, like pragmatic implementation. The fact that you guys made a chart that's really pretty doesn't put money in the bank account, fellas. And they'd be like, we should publish this. And be like, cool, but we don't get money for publishing. There isn't, like, the focus here is pragmatic business concepts. I always love the test of just, all right, so if you walk into your bathroom and you run your hand underneath that faucet, and the water's not hot, and I wait for them to answer. I'm not going to do it to you just in case it goes sideways. But if they go, it's cold, I go, no, because then it implies that it could be lukewarm, it could be boiling, it could be scalding, it could be any number of things. But one of those, I was testing their decision-making on, you can learn that from School of the Hard Knocks, right? Like, I want people to go like, what? It's wet, but I'm
the same way. I want some, my favorite developers right now are the ones that goof off with stuff. And I try to encourage my students to goof off with things, because if you just do my assignments, you will not be great. You might pass my class. You might get an A in my class.
Yeah.
But I can't make you great unless you're curious, unless you say, hey, I have this, and whoa, what if I applied it to this other problem?
Yeah.
And some of the best students and projects I've seen are those people that say they took something and then they said, how do I apply it to my life or something I'm working on? And they got curious about it and stopped worrying about the grade they were getting in my class and start worrying about, how does this apply?
And that is actually a very good point. That applied knowledge is a big deal, because usually if I hire people that are like self-taught, they're oftentimes really fast, but they oftentimes taught themselves with a tutorial, and they know like one path through one problem, and they don't have the abstract kind of conceptual version where they have a few different approaches that they can try. Right? When I find people that like have really cool GitHub profiles and stuff like that, that's one of the things I'm concerned with on them. Because I'm like, you did it once, but you very well probably just followed a video of some guy who only did that, and you didn't even know why you were doing the things and the steps in that video, right?
Yeah, and I totally agree. But the person I'm talking about did that, and then they tried it again and did another project and another project, and pretty soon you do enough projects and you start, it starts pushing you, and suddenly that tutorial isn't enough, and you have to dig deeper. But it's the curiosity that's fascinating me.
And we call this Burn the Map partially because of just like the passion with it. We used to do podcast stuff, and I had some business guys come on that like they clearly had PR training and stuff like that. They were pushing their message. It was very canned responses. And I went, I'm not doing it anymore. If I'm talking to people who are doing it to make money, I want people that have a fire in their belly. The proverbial crazy one from the Steve Jobs thing. I was like,
isn't that a great campaign?
I love that campaign, man. Like that's tingles for me. But I was going, I want to talk to the people that can't not think about it. And I think that is one of those valuable things, because like when, and I know it's not perfectly accurate, but the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours thing, it's really easy. Like Google validated this in a different way. They found out that the degree choice didn't actually matter as much as like having experience and passion for something, because they went, even if you don't have as much experience right now, if you're passionate about it, you'll get there, and then you'll accelerate because you kind of have the equivalent of compound interest by sleeping and thinking about it during, you'll dream about it and stuff like that. Yeah. Those are hours that actually do go further towards it. So it's that curiosity, but it's hard to be curious about things you don't like.
It is hard. No, you're exactly right. It's hard to be curious about things you do like. Yeah. Like you were saying, neither of us is getting enough sleep right now. My wife is not happy that I'm bringing my phone into the bathroom, writing doing research and writing articles in bed. But that's where we are right now. And to me, and I know you're the same way, it's just the world is changing so quickly, and it's so exciting. And I hope to be, and I know you're like this as well, but I hope that we're steering it in the right direction. Yeah. Because it could go the wrong direction. I'll be the first to admit there's some bad decisions we could make, but I think generally we're doing a good job. We're nudging it in the right way, at least.
Fingers crossed. One of the things I warn people about, I'm like, just a heads up, that autonomy is really cool, but it allows you to make mistakes at scale too. So I don't know about you, but I've sent that email to everyone in my inbox accidentally and done a few other things where I'm like, damn it, we're supposed to be really good at this. But
no, and you're doing that at human scale. Imagine what happens at Clawbot scale.
Yeah, there's no pulling pee out of the pool at some point. You got to be.
There's the mic drop.
Tim, where can people? Cinco AI is the company.
You can find me at timkapp.com. That's my personal site. That's where I publish. And my business is cinco.ai, not .com. So
cinco.ai.
Tim, kapp.com or cinco.ai is my company.
Worth a follow, people. Worth a follow. Thank you kindly. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I always enjoy speaking with you. On or off podcast, you're one of my favorite people to talk to about this stuff.
So. Good. We'll do it again sometime.